Yep. That's where it is.
Viewers?
Viewers
Can you
on
hear
the,
me now?
City Commissioners meeting, a regular meeting. And I'll call this meeting to order. We will start with an invocation led by Paul Smith and a pledge led by Commissioner Velez. Pledge of allegiance.
Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you. We ask you for your wisdom, your guidance as we work to overcome some of the difficulties that we have in the community and try to find better ways to improve it. Lord, we thank you so much for the rain that you're giving us, and if it be your will, we ask you to continue some more. Lord, we ask you for guidance in our national elections as they're taking place now, and ask you, Lord, that your will be done. We ask these things in your Son's holy name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank y'all. Doesn't look like we have, unless Nancy's going to make a comment tonight. Anybody here to make a comment in the audience? So we will go directly to item number 1, which is discussion and action, Resolution 24-384. It's a resolution authorizing application for financial assistance from the Texas Water Development Board for water system improvements and making certain findings in connection whereof. And this is really just work that we have to do. We have to put on board a financial advisor, and they listed Hilltop Security. Bond counsel was listed McCall, Parkhurst, and Horton, and then engineer is Ambertech. And they went through a bit, I actually went through a posted process to see who was interested, and they, I guess, bid the process, and these are the 3 that submitted bids. There was no one else that submitted bids at this time. And so what we're doing here, we'll need to take action on this, see if we approve this. This is required for us to continue our application for water development. It involves $19 million. Hard to say that. It's a lot of money. And that's just strictly on our water side. We still have a wastewater of maybe $5 million that hasn't got to this process or point yet. Any questions or discussion?
Yes, sir. I was reading over the resolution, sir, and the paragraph underneath these 3 different financial advisor, bound counsel, and engineer, there's a statement that says, and the mayor of the city is hereby authorized and directed to execute contracts. I would like to see, like above, the mayor and the city and the city administrator added in there along with the mayor, as it is listed on 2.
On this resolution?
Yes, sir.
I'm not sure why that would be.
Right here on the resolution,
Yes, ma'am?
right here where it says the mayor of the city is hereby authorized and directed
Yes, ma'am?
to include the city administrator on there in the language as it is listed on 2.
Okay, you're speaking of the
Resolution.
resolution.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
I'm not
First
sure.
page, where it says, it has 1, 2, and 3, and number 3, underneath those 3 entities, it says, and the mayor of the city is hereby authorized and directed to execute contracts for services with such firms and individuals on behalf of the city, which are these 3 up here. I'm just saying to add on there,
She wants to add the
City-
same as it reads
yes,
up here.
the city administrator also.
that something we can do legally?
I usually just sign the contracts and stuff
Right,
on resolutions. I don't know if I'd sign resolutions just because he's the head of the deal.
I understand that, but this is giving him the authority to execute the contract.
Okay.
That, it's not necessarily signing the resolution.
Right.
We can ask you.
On this question, let me ask you, I mean, we're reading it word for word like she says. You can go out and issue a contract. However, we have procedures inside Mason and our private government that doesn't allow you to do that without commission approval.
Right.
So we don't write that in here, but we can't really technically, you
Right.
can't do that without us anyway.
Correct.
So I don't know, that, it doesn't involve, that doesn't necessarily involve the city administrator.
Right. I'm just protecting the city here, by adding the city administrator on there, to execute contracts for services. It's not, I'm not saying to add him to sign the resolution, no. That's not at all what I'm saying. I'm just saying to add it to the lingo there where it says the mayor and the city administrator, include the city administrator with that language.
I guess I'm still having a hard time reading this. On number 2, it looks like the resolution is authorizing the city administrator.
Correct.
So it's already stated in 2. I don't know why we have to state it in 3.
Because it's executing the contracts there on 3.
Okay. Now, Patty, are these a contract just with these 3 entities? And it's just strictly for the application process?
For
It
this
has-
specific resolution, yes, sir.
Has nothing to do if we're awarded the grant or whatever, things of that nature. So this is just for the application. I guess we can pass the resolution, and if we can change that wording legally, we'll do that, if that
Yes,
is
sir.
agreeable to the commission. I mean, I don't have a problem with it. So, any further discussion on this? Now, this doesn't mean we have to, if we get awarded the contract, necessarily have to use them. This just has those put in place to get us through that process.
Okay.
Yeah, if we get awarded that, then it comes up here, we decide
Do we want-
want the whole thing, or what we want to do in the US. But I did find out today, because I talked to Keith.
Right.
We talked about the other, when it gets to a certain level, which this is 19 million, you can't just take forgiveness money and not take the loan. You have to take
Oh, really?
some of the loan. Which is, I mean, we all decide what we're going to do at that time.
Till we have an offer, we really can't do it. I mean, we just want to continue the process and hope for the best, you know. Hopefully they give us 18 million, we just only have to sign a loan for 1 million, but anyhow. We'll see where we stand on it and see what our options are on that, but that's good information. Thank you, John.
Okay, so we need a motion to accept and authorize the resolution 24-384, correct? Right?
Yep.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I make a motion, we accept resolution 24-384 with the terminology added on number 3, to include the city administrator with the mayor.
I second it.
Okay, we have a motion in front of the commission, made by Commissioner Velez and seconded by Commissioner Smith, that we approve the resolution 24-384, and this has to do with financial assistance for Texas Water Development Board for the water system improvement and making certain findings in connection with, and with the possibility of amending number 3 and adding the city administrator on that if we find out that we can legally do that and that's appropriate. Any further discussion on that? All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, same sign. And we have 5 for and none against. Item number 2 is discussion and action. It's considered lift station obligation between the City of Mason and Eddie and Cindy Priest. I had emailed through our City Secretary, Patty Allen, all the information on this, the background information, And so I'm just going to kind of do just a quick review on that. We wanted y'all to have time to look at that. The priest will not be here representing themselves on it, although we did get a letter from them. But I'll kind of go through the sequence and schedule of events for at least the public knows what we're talking about and what's occurred. And then I'll run through this, just a quick summary, if that's okay with the commission, and then we'll discuss it. But this thing started in 1998 or 1999 when the priest decided to build a home over on Pottytalk Street. And as they made their arrangements, I understand, to build the home, their intents were, I guess, through the architect and whatever, that water, sanitation water, wastewater would be directed towards Pottytalk Street. Well, as they began the construction, as we were told, because John wasn't here at the time either, when they started doing the rough out on the plumbing, Butch LaFeste, which was water wastewater supervisor, public works director maybe at that time, advised there's no sanitation line that runs down Pottytalk at that particular point, and that they would have to connect up over on Rank Street. And so they discussed options, and it was discussed that the way to get there, since it wasn't directly downhill, might be, that's still debatable, is to put in a pump station or a small grinder pump from their house to push that water down a fence line there that's due east and go down to Rank Street. And so they did do that. There was apparently a verbal agreement, according to the priest, that the city would maintain the pump station or the grinder. Later on, in 2000, Mr. Priest wrote up a letter and asked the city administrator, which was Mark Hahn at the time, to sign it, to state that the city did agree to maintain that pump station basically indefinitely, and Mark Hahn signed that, and that was done in 2000. Just for information, Mr. Priest was commissioner at the time and was serving in office for the city of Mason. Over time, the city has gone out there and serviced that pump station, and maybe on an annual basis, we don't really know exactly how much. John said their folks have been out there several times, but when it came up to where they had a problem in 2020, it was determined when the city responded that the pump and grinder needed to be replaced, and the city replaced it at that time with, I think, a pump and grinder that they had at the time. It was similar size to other ones that we used. So they installed that at that time, and John at that particular point in time tried to negate that agreement, that written agreement that was presented to him, and I believe had talked to Charlie Zach, which is our counsel, and still is, and understood that we could negate that agreement. Well, Mr. Priest signed that, but he signed on the bottom of it that, on his receipt, that this does not do away with the original agreement that was done in 2000. Now, just a little bit more information. In December of 2010, the city actually passed an ordinance, commissioners did, stating that we would not, on any pump stations or grinders, service those on private property that were owned by private residents. So that forbade that. At the time that after this was presented, it came back up again, and this last month, and the city has responded twice out there, and John had visited with me about what I thought about the situation, and I said, well, I don't think that he nor I have authorization to continue this agreement that was made by a city administrator some 23 years ago, nearly 24 years ago now, and so we contacted our council. John has had several conversations, as well as myself, with Mrs. Priest on this, trying to explain the situation. And anyhow, as you saw the letter that we got from our council, Charlie Zash out of Austin, the main verbiage that I just wanted to state, he said that it was unconstitutional use of public funds, which, talking to him, I understand that to mean that we cannot use public funds or resources to help somebody with, if they wanted to go out and help Ms. Velez on her property. If she has a problem with her sewer line that's on her property and not on city property, then we can't legally do that. Not stating that we won't try to help people as we need to, because we want to be neighborly and we want to all try to work together. So as you saw there, the final note, and I visited with Mrs. Priest about how can we resolve this, and they finally come up to the point that we will not require the city to expend any funds for any parts, but they would like for us to continue to service it. And to actually represent her fairly, I think, her biggest concern is that at some point in time, the pump station goes out, and they're in a bind because she didn't feel like that she could get a company to come out and service it in an emergency situation. I asked her to go and look around, look at Brady, look at Fredericksburg, Mason County, Marble Falls, wherever. And I actually made a call myself to a couple of Mr. Flores over in Brady, and never did communicate with him directly, but I did find a gentleman over in Marble Falls that said he could come out seven days a week. And for it looked like a reasonable fee. If she had a problem, he could service it. He could look at other options for a backup system if she's just so fearful that if it goes down, she's really in a bind. And so I passed that information on to her today. Discussion, questions, try to just summarize. Y'all have quite a packet on that. We have the letters, all the documentation that was done in writing, as well as Mrs. Priest's letter that she sent to all of us, I think, over the weekend. Discussion?
So to understand, this was not approved by the city commission.
No.
This was just kind of a side handshake deal. Okay, and so do we have any idea how often we've been out there, what we may have spent?
I have been here for 14 years, and the only incident was in 2020 when I responded, hey, it's not ours, you know, and then he showed me the letter, so that's, but we haven't been servicing.
Okay.
We have not? Okay.
Not while I've been around, you know, I mean, I guess Paul, you're a good example, I guess he has an issue now, and Paul had an issue even before he was commissioner. We have the time, I always help you, and I help everybody, a lot of people have, I mean, we do the best.
I have a pump station, but I mean, you know, it's our responsibility.
It's part of our, some of our responsibility, but not to, I mean, it's not, we come for the commission, you can't use the funds, so in my opinion, not to say that we won't help any individual in Mason, but everybody would like to decide.
Well, the last time we went out, I believe it was on a Saturday, and so we paid overtime for several individuals to go out there. I think John ended up going out there, ended up being a frozen one-way valve, and then we had to return the next day to trip a breaker or something. So it does eat up resources, and my opinion is we ought to treat all the citizens the same. I mean, we shouldn't make an exception. And according to Charlie, this was not a legal agreement, not a binding agreement on the city, because Patty, John, nor I can make an agreement with anybody unless the commission approves it.
So then, we're saying that we're not gonna service it. If we can go out and help, we will. But then, is that then billable to them? Or, so if we have an instance where we have overtime, you know, it's done 2 o'clock in the morning, that can be billed at regular rate.
Kind of like what we do, this past week, because it got pretty cold. Out in the middle of the night after working hours, you turn off your water. Because we're paying overtime, you're paying $60. Because you're paying for that guy to turn off the water.
Okay,
I mean, it's the same thing.
okay.
And it's a double-edged sword in my opinion, because I feel like there's a reason for that language being in our ordinance about private property is for the liability for the city, I feel. And I think that, I think that in case of emergency, I agree, you know, we can help someone out. But I don't think it's a good practice to, if you do it for one, other people are gonna expect it too. And that's just a big liability for the city. Yeah.
You know, I agree. I always look at it like, if I do it for one, and if you have a lift station problem, if you got a water problem, or you got electric, we're on the hook for everybody. If we start maintaining the utilities, period, across the board, doesn't mean if the power line goes out and falls across somebody's car in a big storm, we don't run out there, but that's an emergency
Right.
situation. The lift station not working hardly constitutes an emergency unless you're the one, you know.
And that brings me to the point that, you know, when it's in someone's private property and we send our guys out there, I mean, we need to protect our guys from that liability too. Is the way I look at it, as a liability for the city.
I agree with Anna. If we did something and it backed up sewer in their house, then we're going to be liable.
Yep.
Let me ask Tammy this question. Okay, we got insurance on our guys working. General liability. Does our general liability cover them working on private property that's not city property?
I think it does if they're working for us.
Yep.
You would have to.
Probably anything they do unless they,
Well, then we have to define what working for us is, because at that point, it's hard for me to believe they're working for us.
Right.
Well,
That's
gen-
why I think it's a liability.
generally liability, you know, the city is, you know, I had some experience in law enforcement in this when I worked internal affairs and some different deals. And if an employee goes outside the policy and procedures, then it negates the city being liable. But if he follows policies and procedures and something happens, things go wrong, then the city is going to be liable. And that's one reason we have policies and procedures for how we conduct our business. So it's just like we have an ordinance that says we do not service this. So it's basically a procedure that is approved. And so I think it's common sense.
Yeah.
Right, right. Further discussion?
And that's a blanket across the board too.
Yeah.
We come out to, whatever, we come out to pick up a dead animal in your yard, we charge you.
Further discussion?
So throw your dead animal in the neighbor's yard.
So Mayor, what kind of action do you need on this for us to,
I think commission needs to take action according to our council, and that way that gives John direction and the city direction. So we do need to have a motion and vote on this if that meets the approval of the commission.
and the motion is to be that we abide by ordinance that was passed in 2010, because ultimately that covers the whole enchilada, that covers it all. I mean, we're still going by that ordinance as of today,
So why
right?
is there a need to pass anything? We've already got the ordinance.
Yeah,
Well, I think it helps give, again, it gives instructions to the city administrator of what to do on this. There is a written agreement, and we need to state that written agreement is
No, and
not going to be abided by. It's null and
Well,
void.
and
We're not going to honor it.
Just for the sake of argument, back in 1998, when Eddie built his home, there was a lot of ordinances that were not, the ones that were in place were so, I mean, Nancy can tell you this, that some of those ordinances didn't get worked on till years later. They were so antique. So I don't feel like, at least I feel like Mark didn't do it intentionally to, as a liability to the city, or he was probably just, trying to help Eddie at the time. So I feel like, yeah, and Mason has grown, Mason has changed and has progressed since 1999 when we did the single member district. So a lot of things have changed since then. And I feel that we've grown, the city has grown, the city has improved. We've been progressive with our ordinances and rewriting a bunch of the ones that we didn't have a leg to stand on. So I feel like, and the public has always been notified of these ordinances. Anytime that we've worked on them, the public has known. So this kind of falls like under 2010, that's when that should have been voided or nulled or whatever.
And then this came up 2 years later, when this first came up.
I'm not sure John was even aware that we had that agreement with them in 2020.
Probably
So, I
nobody
mean,
did.
It just,
Probably nobody did,
yeah,
because it
so-
was something, good old voices.
So I think we just need to say we will no longer have the obligation for this lift station
that agreement's null and void.
and say that we just follow our procedure.
I don't know that it's null and void in the fact that it wasn't approved by the commission to begin with.
it was never,
Yeah.
it was
It
never
was
valid.
not approved by the
Never
commission
was
to
valid.
begin with. It was a verbal agreement that was put on writing to secure the residents.
But my question is an individual allowed to put the committee under the contractor agreement?
No, this is exactly my point with what we just passed on that resolution, that no, he cannot do that, and he cannot do that alone. We have to approve it.
Yeah, and The council stated here, neither the mayor nor the city secretary can bind the municipality to pay a claim prior to signing a warrant transcript or a city council acting as a body had not previously approved signing. This was a particular case, that's the reason they state, city secretary or mayor. And so this is Waco versus Texas Civil Appeals, Waco 1939, goes way back. And so anyhow, he made several cites there. And, we had to expend funds to pay our attorney to give us legal advice on this. And I think we need to take the appropriate action and move forward on it.
How about if we make a motion that we continue abiding by ordinance that we passed in 2010, which is 05288, and anything prior to that ordinance concerning our wastewater, plumbing, wastewater system, whatever, something.
13.1.
Anything prior to that is null. Any written agreement with individuals or oral agreements. We're going to abide by that ordinance until this ordinance is updated or revised or whatever. But we have that ordinance in place for a reason.
You mind stating that?
Again,
Yes, ma'am, I'm trying to get it to
okay,
where I
I
can.
make a motion that we continue to follow ordinance 05288 and any oral agreement or written agreement prior to 2010, which was March, and it was amended in 2017. It was initially passed in 2010 and amended in 2017. All that information's on that.
Okay, this was signed actually in 2010.
Yeah, but we had the amendment. Here's the code adopted amendment. Anyway, prior to this, in 2010, any kind of agreement that was made, written or orally between staff back then,
How about not approved by the commission?
and not approved by commission, because it wasn't approved by commission.
Yeah.
That's all under the ordinance, so it has to be approved by commission.
Okay, I do have a motion in front of the commission. To have a second? I will. Commissioner Velez made a motion that the city follow the ordinance 05-288 that addresses pump stations in that ordinance and 13-1, and that any agreement that was either signed prior, whether it's oral or written, to that date will not continue unless it is approved by the city commission.
Unless it's approved by the city. We may change it at some point in time. Not approved by the manner by which the city approves agreements or something to that effect, but if you want to get permission, then fine. I also would like to include in the thing, any other unapproved letters or agreements made by city personnel prior to today that was not approved by the commission that goes forward. Now, let's just get that out there right now. There may be 40 more people out there that we don't know about.
Yeah,
Patty, can you
I did include that.
Just a second.
Okay, you're right.
And this ordinance covers this that way, Mr. Rayburn, Commissioner Rayburn, in that it has to be approved by the commission.
I'll second.
Okay. We have a second by Commissioner Keller. Does anybody want that reread? Do you want Patty to reread that?
No.
Do you have it? Do you
We
feel
got the
comfortable with it?
gist.
Okay. We do have a motion before the commission and seconded by Commissioner Keller. Any further discussion on this particular motion? Okay. All those in favor of this motion, raise your right hand. All those opposed, same sign. So we have 5 for and 0 against. Thank y'all. That's sometimes hard decisions have to be made, but we have to represent the city and protect liability. Okay, item number 3 is to consider Mayor Frank Bartlett to order the municipal election for May 4th, 2024. Positions of Mayor at Large, Commission District 1 and Commission District 3. Designate the early voting location at the City Hall, 124 Moody Street, and Election Day voting at Robert P. Eckert Civic Center, 1024 McKinney Avenue.
I make a motion to allow Mayor Bartlett to order the municipal election for May 4th, 2024 for positions of Mayor at Large, Commissioner District 1 and Commissioner District 3.
I'll second it.
We do have a motion by Commissioner Velez and a second by Commissioner Smith to allow the mayor to order this municipal election. Any further discussion? No
No,
further
sir.
discussion. I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Those opposed, same. That's approved 5-0. You know, we've had good attendance. We've been missing a commissioner so far. I mean, Paul had an excuse one time. But other than that,
It was
pretty-
weak, but it was an
did
excuse.
pretty good. We didn't get a letter from your doctor, though. but-
I've got several. Bills, too, if you want those.
Okay, item number 4 is discussion and action. It's consider quarterly investment report for the fourth quarter of '23. And that's a report that I put together based upon information from Donna Langham. And I just wanted to comment, Donna does a great job on working these numbers and really keeping up to date on all this and educating me as well as Commissioner Keller, I guess, because it's a lot to learn our first term. We are continuing to see increase in interest rates on our CDs. As you see in those reports, they're really good numbers. Each time we renew, and you see the renewal dates there, the next to the last column under our CDs, each time we renew, they're continuing to go up. Don't know how long that will last. I don't think anybody does, but so far it's very nice. You also see the numbers on our government pools, and you see the interest rate on those, which exceed what our CDs are performing.
I'm sorry, Mayor, can I ask real
Absolutely,
quick?
go right ahead.
Just to refresh my memory, on these government pools that we've invested in, if we start seeing a decline, we can pull out, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so, but there
24
hasn't
hours.
been one yet. But I'm just wondering because our future's kind of like, yeah,
Right. If we make it before, like 4 o'clock one day, it's done.
okay.
The ones that's more aggressive is the Logic, and you see it's producing 5.5411, and that's the one that's a little bit more volatile, I guess. It can go up and down faster, and so I look at it weekly pretty well. Donna looks at it every day, I think, and it pops up. So that's the one we watch really close because we could convert that over to Techstar if we wanted to. It's not quite so much movement on it, but they both produced well, and you see how much interest we have gained over this period of time. You never take the chance of losing your principal on that that we initially invested. So it's secure, and they meet the Texas standards for public funds investments. Our cash flow, you can see on our general account is good. It's a little bit high now because we're fixing to have to pay a principal on the landfill. And so that'll drop down. That's $100 and some odd thousand. But otherwise, it's holding well.
Yeah, it all looks good. So we need a motion to accept your quarterly investment report?
Yes, ma'am.
I make a motion, we accept the quarterly investment report for the fourth quarter of 2023, which looks good.
Have a second on that? Commissioner Rayburn seconded that. Any further discussion on this report or questions? We'll take a vote. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, same signal. We got 5-0. Again. Item number 5. Item number 5 has to do with a decision that we can make, and it takes action. It's requesting the Central Appraisal District, that represents us naturally, Hickory Water, MISD, Midland County. Yeah, I think that's it. And I'm missing somebody, John? But anyhow, it shows that, the records show that they had a surplus of funds last year. And so they came in and actually requested to maintain those funds. They have to have at least 2 entities that'll agree to let them maintain them, and then they can set up an account. What they're trying to do is look to the future, and they're trying to see if monies can be started to be put in a fund that will allow them to either relocate or build a building someday or something of that nature. That quantity of money is only 1,000. Yes, sir?
Have they ever had I've never remembered them having a surplus. This is kind of new, right? And I think that's great. Because I know that in the past, the chamber, we always let the chamber keep any,
Did the, applying for the Texas Water Development Board in Mason does really well. I think in the last 5 years, we've been at 99.23% people carry.
that's awesome.
Wow.
And do you know if there have been 2 entities that have agreed to, for them to retain the surplus?
I'll just make some speculation, because since a couple of the commissioners for the county is on the board, and it's kind of at their direction, I'm assuming they will probably go that direction.
I hope so.
And if no 2 agree to do this, then I'm sure we'll get our refund. The total amount would be a little over $66,000 if, and DAWS CCSD is on there also, very minor amount, but that would be the cumulative. Naturally, the school district would be the biggest numbers. But, I mean, I think it's a good investment.
66,000 is for all the entities combined.
Correct. If
Our
everybody
portion-
agreed.
yeah, our portion for the city is just $1,995.
Yes, ma'am.
I think we should let them keep it, and hopefully they have another entity that will help them, because I know here in Mason, it's hard to find. I think their lease is up in April, and I know it's hard to find locations. Hopefully they can find a place.
Commissioner Velez, would you like a motion? Make a motion on
Yes, sir. I'll
that?
make a motion that we allow the Central Appraisal District retain the surplus amount of $1,995.89. That is for the city of Mason.
Have a second?
I'll second it.
Got a head nod and it was seconded by Commissioner Keller. We do have a motion before the commission that we allow Mason Central Appraisal District to retain our overages or surplus from last year of $1,995.89. Further discussion? Take it to a vote. All those in favor, raise your right hand. 5-4. Those opposed, 0. Okay, we're moving through this tonight. Item number 6. It appears that we have come up with a situation that we may need to look at a different day for our next regular commissioners meeting. The 19th, which is the third Monday, falls on President's Day. So the 20th kind of looks like a no-brainer, but any suggestions?
When is the animal control workshops happening, do you know?
13th?
The 13th?
Yes,
So-
ma'am.
Okay, so it'd probably be good for us to have it on the 20th, right?
That would be.
Well, it's a week prior anyway.
One of those times, the Republican women, is that the one? We have a conflict, I think, on the 12th. It's the 12th or the 13th.
Yeah, I think you told us the 13th. But either way, well, the 13th was our regular, no, the 12th was, no.
13th would be the workshop, or the
Right.
12th, whichever one we've done.
So we need to move our meeting to the 20th, right?
Yes, ma'am. I mean, it'd be reasonable to do that
Yeah,
if that's,
does anybody have a
everybody's in
conflict
favor of
with
that.
that? You okay? Bruce?
I'm good.
Okay, so then I make a motion, we move our regular meeting for February to February the 20th.
Second?
Okay, got it.
Commissioner Smith seconded the motion. Motion is made by Commissioner Velez that we schedule our regular commissioners meeting on the 20th of February in 2024. Further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. 5-4, 0 against. And We'll put out soon, I think, the 5th or 6th, they're having a P and Z meeting, and then we'll give you, where you can put on your calendar, because Patty and I have been back and forth whether it's 12, we had a conflict, we think, or thought. So, and really need to be working on, encourage you to really work on that animal control ordinance, because if we could get through it with another workshop, then it's possible it could be put on that agenda for that next meeting. But we've still got some really hard decisions to make and some things to really look at very cautiously. So, talk to your constituents, try to get a feel for the community. As you know, we have comments coming in, hopefully, through City Hall. We get very many of those? Okay, and they're going to go to P&Z, they're going to kind of collate them and get them organized for us and present those at our workshop meeting. And that way we know what has come in. I'm soliciting that to continue on my report to the paper next week. So, item number 6 is completed. We are to the consent agenda, I believe. Yes, number 7 is the consent agenda.
Where was the consent agenda sent? I didn't get one. In the email? When did you send it out? Yeah, I didn't see, yeah, well, I had a weekend from, where this past weekend, so I didn't see it.
Well, you got the email that I sent to Patty, right? For the priest,
Yes, I got all of that.
but you didn't have the other one.
The agenda is the one I'm looking for. I didn't see it.
I did get with Patty and see junk mail or something, see what the situation is on that.
I'd seen it, and I left it unmarked because I managed my mail, and, because I wanted to read it this morning. And it took me 2 hours to find it. I sent it from the government, Rayburn, to my private email, so I can read it easier. And, it didn't look like it made that transfer, and I went back and said, did I delete it? I mean, and I did not find it in the junk mail. And I looked around for about 20 minutes and stumbled across it. I don't know. It's almost, but yeah, I had difficulty. And I think transfer is like,
Mine goes to junk mail every time.
Yours does go?
I just check junk.
You don't
mail
have a way of releasing that?
Yeah, I've tried, but it doesn't want to do it. So,
Mine's
I
coming
check
good
my
now.
junk mail every day, so.
Yours?
Mine's coming good now.
Mine's
Mine
always good.
did go to junk mail, but it's not anymore.
It's possible, maybe Patty could send it to both of your email addresses? Is that possible, Patty? And that way you won't have a,
Well, I think Friday was, you know how chaotic my Thursday and Friday were. So it's possible I just overlooked it.
okay. John, would you like to make a presentation on the consent agenda?
Just so everybody's aware, my consent agenda that they also got was just what you guys wanted to do. Has all of the permits, you just kind of go over some of the permits and stuff before I get into something else. But, lots of permits this past month. We have about 8 bills that have found, so a lot of things are moving. We had, the baseball field, we got brand new lights. We finally got through those here last week. Okay, so the lights, I'll show you pictures of it at night. They're really nice. So we spent some time and stuff effort out there for them. We've done a lot of pulling in wire for new meters. Chad has been working pretty consistently. If you would notice some of the house that was burnt over on Rank Street.
Right, it's gone, down to the slab.
We got with the judge is helping us quite a bit. We've done lots of things that we've been doing in court and doing different things. So that's going well. He's got 3 other things that he's working on that I kind of told the mayor about, weeds and different things. So everything's going well. We did get we put in a bunch of the guys in to get CDLs because we can test the guys. got one, John Paul got his CDL. Today,
Really?
Ben got his Class A license in Brampton. He was extremely happy. Proud of him.
Who was that?
Ben,
Good, good.
that's the highest you can get. He did awesome. Moving in on the licenses, Emilio, of course, he has his Class C, so he has his water license, and he went to class for his wastewater license. We got Raul and Rodell coming up to take those, and Jay also. So lots of things moving on. I'm just gonna talk about personnel. And while I'm talking on this, it's kind of awesome. Mickey started his coursework. Mickey's trying to get his water license also as well. We also got tickets to go to the Midland for our supervisors to help them excel, do different things. I think we did this last year, so it's a bunch of new guys this year are actually new supervisors who can learn more. We're trying to really work on our supervisors and our employees to advance and how to do that, which is one of my goals, which I'll go after this in a minute. Looking at a lot of different things as far as how we move things around in the office, because election's coming, and we're trying to get finish remodeling of our city office, so that's another trying to work around, because we all live there. We need to work, we need to work. I also sit on the back, this is part of my review process, so one of the suggestions that was made was for me to keep continuing to tell you on my consent agenda where we are, so you don't have to come up at the last minute during my review process. Gosh, what'd you do all year? Or what did you do 6 months ago? You know, so it's a lot of different things. I'm trying to write a bunch of those things down that I do, that I'm in charge of, that we all do. You know, like Patty's goals that we set to her, that we've already got. But I'm
Hey,
just
John,
gonna kind of go.
before you start that, can I ask two real stupid questions before that? I did tap into the monthly reports. Who is Leroy on electric department?
Leroy?
That's the name of the compressor or something.
Yeah, they call that compressor Leroy, not an employee.
That's the name of the compressor.
Well, he failed to start.
Lots of underground, and we have a compressor that blows air.
Okay,
And then we named it Leroy back in 2010, and that was the name that belonged.
okay. Okay. Well, I just saw where it was he failed to start, so I'm like, who was that? Okay, and my next question is, we had an incident in my area, my district, where there was a big water leak on Pontotoc and, what is the name of that street? Was it Nueces or was it Colorado? It was somewhere there. And it was a while before the residents got notice to boil water. And I had several people calling because even after the fact, they had no clue of whether to, continue boiling water or not. What is the process and my excuse is, Emilio's new at this, and this is probably his first time he had to deal with letting the residents know how to boil water, or let them know when to.
It's a brand new rule that PCQ put in, so every time we have a water break, okay? So at the time this happened, it was also right at the time of New Year's, right? So it happened right in the middle of time, so it's that section that was there, not everybody else in town. Not everybody in town, just that little section. So we put out boil water notices to everybody in that section. If you weren't there, you may have felt the pressure, go down and up, but it doesn't affect you because the floor is in. So once we put that notice in, we called PCQ that night. Of course, when you get through with the water break, then you have to take samples. Well, when it's time for us to take samples, nobody can test the samples that PCQ requires to test them. So we had to wait till Monday.
Just of the holiday, right?
Just the holiday. But what we did individually, that people were calling us, we went back and we tested it ourselves, and we had enough chlorine in there, so it doesn't hurt you. But we had to go ahead and test it. We got the results the very next day, and we let people know then let us rescind the notice, and when we rescind it, we put it on Facebook, we let everybody know. I think some of the people that were asking were people that weren't in that actual section of where we were turning off the water. So when we issue a boil water notice, we'll know, we'll tell you if it's citywide or just that section. We put the tags on every house.
This was gonna say, you actually go physically and put the notice on everybody's.
And the supervisor did a good job that day. Patty was telling me, because he's relatively new, Elmo, and, he realized, we got to do this. So they got it out that same day.
You mean
And,
Emilio?
yeah, and I
And
talked,
he did. I think it was afterwards, I had people call me and say, okay, when can I stop boiling my water? And I'm like, I didn't want to give them the wrong answer. So I was like, let me check back and with you. But I think that's when I made contact with you. But I wanted to make sure that the public knew what the process is, and it's
And
not,
that's a process. And the old law was that if a water line broke and it got below 35 PSI, that's when you issue the boil water notice. Now, if it's a major leak like that one, it doesn't matter what pressure it is, we have to issue a boil water notice, even though it didn't fall down to 35 PSI. And the reason that rule is there is because once it falls down to 35 PSI, there's more of a chance of debris being sucked in. Right, so if you don't ever go below 35 PSI, you don't have to worry about it. But that's our process now, so it's just like every time we have one, we'll have to issue a boil water notice for that section, and then get a resend, and then we'll let everybody know.
good.
and I visited with John a little bit about that too, about the possibility with our fund view, as possible, and I don't know if it's viable or not, to contact those that are affected, the ones we have cell phones, we can put a message out to them to notify them as well. And we're still evaluating that. I don't know if that's a viable option or not, but it'd be another way that we could help. Not everybody's got their
Yeah.
cell phone
Not
registered with
everybody
us.
has Facebook either. That's another point I was gonna make. But you do send out the utility on the text message. That would probably be a good, I mean, most people have most people, not all people. Because I know not all people have Facebook either.
Right.
So we're trying to figure out a better way to do it. We have the capability now, I think we just need to know how to run it. Okay? So that's it.
So what else do you have, John?
Next thing is, again, I'm gonna kind of go through this really
Can I make two comments before you start yours? Okay. First of all, so on the meter reads on the water, so I noticed there was 108 meters that were not read. And then down below it says worked on negative, zero, and rereads. What is that process? I mean, what do they do?
So what happens is, like today, when we were working on it, we talking to them, we go and turn people's water off, and it hasn't been on, so it gives you a zero read, so when it comes into the billing system, it throws a red flag, because you're going, hey, how come we didn't get a reading? So we have to go out there and make sure that it was off, and they didn't get anything. Sometimes, and some of those people that were affected was when we had the water leak, it moves the meter. So and then on some of them, it also, it didn't catch. So we have to send the guys back out there to read, and then there's an actual reading. So we go out there and reread those meters, not by computer, but
Right,
Physically.
that's what's there.
okay. Because I know when we had first started, I think our leakage report was like 12% on water, and it looks like now it's down to 8%, so, yeah, make an improvement on that, so I wanted to congratulate you on that. And then the other thing was, so talk about the landfill. So, 19,590 in revenue, which is as strong as I've seen it since I've been here.
It's been averaging anywhere from 19, you can look back in my reports, but it's been averaging anywhere from 19 to 22,000.
Yeah,
So when we first, before we got our brand new landfill, we were going through the old one, we were averaging around $5,000 of revenue coming into the old landfill. With our new one, we have triple the amount of trash coming in, that it also reflects
Yeah.
on our revenue. So our revenue is 3 some of that revenue is indicated as far as what the county pays and what the citizens pay.
Right,
So,
yeah, and just for the public purpose, so I did the breakdown, so it looks like 43% of the rubbish coming in is from the county and 57% from the city,
and
so.
that's just what they take it at the landfill.
Right,
That's
just
not
to the
counting
land.
what we collect every day in town.
Right.
Okay, so
That's additional revenue.
that's additional, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And today, if y'all notice, which I was gonna kind of talk about, but I'll talk about it since we're talking about the landfill, is we have a company that's coming in, and if you've been out to the landfill, you see our metal pile is enormous, right? So they brought in a couple of crane, or a couple of excavators, and there was a line of 18-wheelers, and we just loaded 18-wheelers on it. I think our last, when they did that, we did the same thing, and we got $12,000 from that, just for recycling.
But that money does not go into recycling.
No, it goes into.
It goes into landfills, although our efforts in recycling doesn't really affect that, here and there.
Good, the money goes in the landfill, and the metal does not.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think we're very blessed to have our landfill, very, very blessed. When we started with this new landfill, back when gas was a little cheaper and we weren't doing as much trash. But now since the economy's going, we went through COVID, we went through everything, and we have our landfill, which we're able to pick up leaves, we're able to pick up debris, we have a place to go take the refrigerators. I mean, there's so many things. We're so blessed to have a landfill. It's unreal.
Well, I was out there today in Frederico, I'm doing a great job, and that is, I mean, it looks really nice. I mean, it's mowed, the roads are in good shape, even though we've had some weather. And, I mean, I was proud of it. Signage is good, everything is well coordinated out there.
And then one more thing, so kudos to everybody in the city for the improvements that have been made. The only other thing was, so the buildings that are going up on Gooch, so do we know the guy doing that? Do we
Yeah, it's
know-
luxury homes,
Who is it?
luxury homes.
Oh, yeah, I saw the LLC, I didn't know if we knew the guy, anything about him.
Well, I don't know where he's from. His realtor's from Fredericksburg, and I visited with him, and they really want to continue to build some homes here. And what he stated to me, and this has been a long time ago, is that if we could get the lot sizes, like in the R3s like we're talking about, they could afford to build more and would pursue more. And at that point in time, we had no idea that that's possible even, but they didn't go for that at the time. They went ahead and wanted to build these 3 or 4 homes on our standard block sides and just, build a relationship with the city. And I think so far, it's been a good relationship so far. So they'll build more homes probably.
Is it a local person?
Did you say these are 2-story?
So they meet the square footage, smaller footprint, but it goes up.
Yeah, the footprint's small, but what's your square footage on most of them? What kind of square footage are they looking at? 1,200?
Okay, sorry, it's all you now.
Just kind of go over these a little bit. I'm just going to kind of go really fast. Our very first one on the list that I gave y'all is our TDA Unity Grant. They have already put out requests for contractors, and those bids should be coming in first week of February. So we look forward to starting our lift station on Smith Street, which I've been praying for a while. Okay, so that's a big one. Ground storage, we haven't heard from TDA yet on that. That's a $350,000 grant, but I ended up putting that same, because I don't know if we have the capability of getting a TDA grant for the lift station. But I put that same project in our Texas Water Development Board, which if we get the 18, 19 million, it's going to be approved. Okay, just so you know. The asset management, this is a great tool. I will know probably by the the end of February or first of March, whether we invite him to bid for that one with the asset management, and that's $100,000. Okay, just so you know amounts. And that will, then we'll bring people in to assess all of our assets that will help us with our comprehensive plan as far as anything, from buildings to vehicles to buildings. Okay?
Well, they do electrical as well?
Yes, sir. So I have an electrical one that is, I got a, well,
Okay, sorry.
but they'll do that, so that's a great one for us. The next one is, applied to assist for the lead and copper. This one's still kind of, I think we will get this one, and this is another I think it's $150,000 grant. And what these guys will do is once, if we get that grant, it will help us get a contractor, because TCQ put a new rule in this year that the city has to know, like the new rate of all of our water lines, which we have those already. But I have to know whether, I'm just gonna use you an example, whether Robert, when we connect to Robert, what Robert's lines are in the house. This is where it gets kind of started, because I don't know who they hold accountable for that. But say Robert has galvanized pipe that was put in there in 1969. We test for lead and copper. We've been testing for lead and copper since I've been here. We don't have an issue with lead and copper. But you might have it in your house, but we alternate houses all over town. But they want you to replace those pipes. Now, where the funding comes for that, or how they will make an individual person do that, I don't know. All I know is TCQ is holding us accountable to do inventory on what's on that street, what goes to that meter box, and from that meter box, what goes into their house. It's gonna take a lot of effort. So a lot of people are trying to get this grant. That's what that grant is for, because we don't have the manpower to do it. Neither does
When are we mandated to comply with that? Is there a timetable? This year, by the end of the year? So we should know on this grant by when, maybe?
Hopefully by the end of February, first of March. So that's where we are now.
So we don't really know if the costs are gonna be borne by the government, by the city, or by the homeowner.
I don't think they can hold us accountable for what
Goes into the house.
But all of this came about with the Michigan thing,
The Flint water.
the Flint, and that type of stuff. We don't have an issue with it, but they can't just pick on one state all across. Kind of like we just did for the station.
Yep.
The next one is, of course, what we just talked about. We just did the resolution. 1918, whatever meeting. In fact, we signed everything. We did the resolution, so that's going forward. So we'll find out pretty quick on that one. Okay, so that's a big one. We are looking at the wastewater, trying to redo our wastewater, which is a $5 million deal, and we will find out first of February, hopefully by this month, whether we get invited to do that also. And that's a $5 million grant, so we can upgrade our sewer lines and do what we have to do to move forward. Some of the projects that you were talking about, I kind of put some of the things that we do. The wastewater also has a CEP, SEP, which kind of coincides with the grant from the Texas Water Board, but this SEP was something that we had to do because years and years ago, we had an ammonia problem at the sewer pond, and this is to irrigate out at the landfill, or at the sewer pond at that here, which what we're trying to do right now, we've already got the majority of it done. We're just sizing a pump that we can put in that basin that we have out there. And we're trying to size that pump so we have it ready, because we gotta spend I think it's $5,500 more. Once we get that pump, we've already got the sprayer, but that pump and the piping that we do will have an inlet that if we do get the other, pump everything to the, so I kind of coordinated all this together so we have it now. So we have something to do, okay? So that's what that's. TCQ, another know, TCQ came and did our first water inspection that we've had since we had an HMO. It's been 3 years. Emilio and Rodell did an extremely great job, and Raul came and helped us a little bit. Because Raul only works a couple of days a week, and we're trying to get it in there. But we did really well on our inspection. We had a few issues. When they come out, they have to find something. So we got us on, some of the fence lines weren't on the top. If you look at every one of our wells, it's a chain link fence, and on top it has 3 wires that have come out. So they measure, lines have to be 1.25 inches separated. We had a couple of the screens, they were, and you know the door screens, right? They were a little too big, so we had to put new screens on, so we got. One of the doors had a crack in it, we had to replace it, so we replaced those. Some of them were just the paperwork, trying to find the paperwork, and we've gotten organized. I think Patty's helped us a bunch on the organization. We did get all the paper, we did have all the paperwork, but at the time she was here, we couldn't find it. Right? So Emilio's been working really hard. I know Patty's helped, and I know we're trying to get organized, and now we have it more or less organized and everything. And so my hat's off to the guys for doing that. XDOT, I've been working on our kind of an agreement with XDOT. I've been doing this now for 3 or 4 years. Hasn't come to fruition yet, but we had a meeting here last week. And hopefully that's coming as an agreement on what we do in the city and what XDOT does. But I also want to put that water line that goes out to XDOT, and they're pretty much willing to let us have that water line. So that's a good thing for us. That way people can improve all the way down, and I can use circulation around that line. So that was a great thing.
Can I expand on that a little bit? Because this was really Robert's brainchild. He wanted to set up a meeting over with TxDOT engineers, area engineers in Burnett. And we invited the sheriff to go with us. And we were concerned about safety issues on how the state highway and federal highway comes through, and especially at the courthouse, around the courthouse, about safety issues with pedestrians as well as vehicle traffic and how they're working well. And, you know, that's kind of a problem over there at Moody and 29, naturally, for pedestrians or people just trying to pull out. So Robert suggested that, and we talked to them about if we could hire a transportation or traffic engineer to come up with some solutions and to evaluate that and do a study. And so they were agreeable to look at anything we come up and work with that engineer. The problem is they're so busy, you know, they're underpaid and overworked. It's hard to get them to really put their teeth into it. So I'm looking at what's out there. Robert and I will be looking together at trying to look at one and see what our cost is. We don't have anything in the budget for this, and we just see if it's a nominal fee that we could do that might stir some things up. This would also assist our sidewalk project as far as going after a grant again, possibly as well, about lane usage and there's a lot of pieces of that puzzle. But we got to get somebody smarter than us to come up with some solutions. So you need to thank Robert for getting us involved there. Joe was very excited about talking to him. We spent about an hour and a half with him over there visiting. They were receptive.
The good thing was that our maintenance agreement, they want us to sign a maintenance agreement, so that's a big push, a big grab. And they were acceptable pushing it up the mountain. That was all we were looking for, was let them push it up the mountain.
Right.
And they were behind us, and that helped us with all of this stuff. Other good thing is, on the way back,
Robert's fault.
I would have to stop and land when I go through there, because they're trying to get a piece of pie.
But they said they would approve if we made some modifications where we approach State Highway on the other two sides of the square, Moody Street and Westmoreland, because those stop signs are not positioned well, those medians are not positioned well, there's no stop bars. There's a lot of things, and there's problems with the sheriff enforcing them too. So John's going to work with Joe on that and present some ideas and see if they'll approve it, and we can go ahead and work on it.
The reason is if you know, like, if you're coming in from Brady and you turn to go to Fredericksburg, then you turn right stops and the street ends. That's why they put a stop sign here, we put one here. So they're not,
Stop bars and the signs are.
and so.
Multiple choice. Stop where you want to.
Well, he's lost a lot of tickets because he'll give you a ticket for not stopping at the stop bar, and he goes, but I did at the stop sign, which one of these does it fly? So that was,
And if you come up Broad, where, Roddy has Park Plus, and they put that thing, the stop signs,
Up front,
stop signs way over here.
crosswalks.
You can't even see because the buildings are there, and you have to go all the way out to see, so we're trying to kind of address some of those things.
this is on a quick note, as I told you, and I'll say it. It would be like trying to think that you could fix the way your house is arranged by moving one chair. We don't, our traffic problem is not one stop sign fix. If it had, we, a long time ago. But still, I'm driving back and forth from Austin. Kind of been a trip for the last couple of days. I'm coming into Lano, as we've all done, coming into town, I go, okay, I got off 71 and I'm going, 70, of course. And then I start to make the turn, you're headed north into Lano and it drops down to 40. And then you go a few blocks and then you get closer to town. And then 6 blocks from the square and it drops to 30. And then you get blocks from the square and it goes to 1 lane. And I went, that's how you do it going through the middle of town. If you can do it there, now, some they may argue, they go, well, we had to bring it down to 1 lane because they have to get down to 1 lane to go across the bridge on the other side of town. I see that. But what you did was, whether you're slowing the traffic for a bridge or you're slowing the traffic because you're going in the middle of your city, regardless of the reason, you did it.
Yeah. I was thinking about that just very recently because it would be great if we just had that 1 lane around the square because people, like at Willow Creek, they're always coming in and out and you're like,
You know what that does? That allows backing out of our
Yeah,
diamond parking
yeah.
center.
And there's a lot of the older folks, they don't care if you're coming on those squares.
John, what else you got there, buddy?
One of the things, I worked with Hickory Underground. We have been sending them all the reports every year annually. I went to meetings with them. We did give them a brand new permit. I've already got it at the office. So we did get a permit we have been using for the last 10 years. We use about 566 acre feet, or about 166 to 170 million gallons of water a year that pumped out of the ground, which we were exceeding our old permit. I went back in, worked with them a couple of days, and me and David agreed, and so I moved it up to 750 acre feet, which will give us another 50 million more gallons of full when we add the other water. So when we do the new well, we've already permitted that well, we can drill it or use the other one. So that's already done. So that's another one off the deal.
Good.
Okay, since we're discussing water, can I ask a question? What would it take for us to reopen the RO system here? I've had numerous citizens ask about that because the reason it was shut down was for COVID, because of COVID, correct?
Yeah, but the reason we're not opening it is because we have a degradation well system that takes away these lights out. So we're not using free water.
Okay. So that's the only reason?
Patty knows, we haven't gotten a violation since we started the H1 process on Ridgeview.
Okay. Yeah, because the reason for that RO system,
I put that in years ago was because of the Ridgeview.
right.
Well,
And-
just to clarify that, we supposedly, recently,
But we didn't. Hiccup.
after we sent out the notices to the public about it, we were required to,
PCQ says.
PCQ, I think Raul contacted and asked what the formula was to calculate that, so that he would be able to calculate and see where we were. And they said, hang on just a minute, and they had miscalculated, and we were actually under when they said we were over the limit.
Yeah.
you got us on the list out for it, all that we already done.
Okay, John, so that RO system was through a grant money, right? Didn't we have, that was through a grant that we got to do that RO system?
No, the rest we did, the RO, we did it all.
Okay, that needs to be clarified, because the people that have approached me are under the impression that it was,
The only thing that was given to us by the Texas Water, not the Texas Water, the Texas, the same people that got, Texas Department of Wildlife, what helps us at the park. Oh, I forgot.
Texas Parks and Wildlife?
Texas Parks and Wildlife, but that was just the bathrooms, and we built the bathrooms and added that facility.
so can we convert it into something so it's not an eyesore and a reminder for people to, well, but whoever wants that RO system.
Well, they want free water, they pay for it.
Yeah, and they do, and it's a monster of trying to keep it sanitized and whatever. You think you create more liability than good you do?
What we ended up doing, until we finally stopped it, was we had people from all over every city come up here to use water. We had people washing their clothes, we had people bathing.
In the RO system? No.
Shut it down, all we use it for, we don't even use it, but we had ideas and aspirations at one time that we could put it up and charge for it. Nobody wants that one, because you still gotta pay for it. So we use it sometimes just for ice. And I don't think we can use it for ice anymore, so it's just sitting there. I mean, we can move, and my aspirations later on is to even expand the bathrooms and do something else with that, make it, some of my long-term goals years ago was to put soccer fields and baseball fields or something out here, because we have 7 acres, to make that into a little stand that they can come and use. Now we're using that little court for a, not tennis, but a little
Racquetball, handball.
Pickleball.
Pickleball, yeah.
We have a big time pickleball here, and so we're looking at putting in some lights up here so they can play pickleball at night, and they play all the time. So it's getting used.
That's a good idea, concession stand.
Anyway, so we did get the hickory in the ground. We did get an assessment on our whole electrical system with LCRA. They're gonna come in Thursday and then talk to us on what they think. Okay, so that helps us on our assessment bills, we're doing that one. So that one's already finished and it's gonna, and it's already here. Some of the other projects that we were doing, kind of like we were stressing through this cold weather, because everybody uses so much electricity during cold weather. We still got a project that goes from, what is it, Post Oak, that goes up, where the funeral home goes up, and there used to be a little taxidermy, used to be the gas station, beer joint. We have the main trunk line that comes down that deal, and when we lose power, just like we did the other day, when somebody ran over the 2 poles, it shuts off half the town. So, but it's too big a job for our guys, so we got a contractor, we put money in the budget to do that. We're looking at a contractor, he's gonna come, and when we separate that, we won't lose power like that anymore, we can get it into sections, but then what that also does is, this part of town, our lines can hold it, but our fuses we have 100-amp fuses, and during the cold, when it gets cold, like even in February when we lost power and stuff, and just this other recently, those fuses were up at 110 amps. So we're like looking at it going, oh, please hold, and it did. So once we do this project, it will separate it and knock those down to 70 and this one down to 70. Power in half the places, it doesn't have to be the whole town, it may be just sections. So we're looking at those, just looking ahead on what we can do.
And so they're coming when?
Hopefully this year, Matt is looking at the guys that are doing the best project, talk about that next. They have a contractor, 3S, and he's asking for a quote for them to see if they can do it while we're here. So, that may be
Do we have any guesstimates on what it's going
the guys that we already had talked to that were coming up here are so far behind because everybody's done, so we're looking at summer or longer. So we're just trying to get it done fast.
But do we have any type of cost estimate?
Yes, we've got 2
You know, Mayor, I do have to make a comment real quick, John. When that power line, it was caused by an 18-wheeler on 29, and most of the people in my district were out of power. I mean, I got to commend the city, the electric department. I'm going to say a funny story, but they were very prompt. And I mean, we had electricity in no time. It was awesome. It
No
was
doubt,
awesome.
no doubt.
And it was two big poles, right? That he.
One of
yeah.
them was not electric pole, but,
Right, but I mean, the lights went
and it
out.
was bad weather too. I mean, it wasn't fun conditions to work
Yeah.
in.
They do,
They
they
do.
do. I'm real proud of our electric department.
Power lines, we cleaned off the road, we moved 25 minutes to an hour, we got power back
Mhm. Yep,
to the town and others. So
yep, it was awesome.
just knowing your system works.
Yeah.
Which goes back to my BEST project, and I know we've been all looking at the BEST project. We've already put some of those poles out there, so we look, those guys have been working on the pad. And I think they're pretty quick. I had the supervisor come in my office last week, and I know Frank just kind of saw me in there, and then he went out there. But the battery things are coming pretty fast, okay? They're gonna, we're waiting on, here pretty quick, they're gonna start putting the poles over there so we can run auxiliary power over there. So they'll start using a little bit of power to build all that stuff. So, that's looking promising, so it may be a little sooner than we thought on how much power that. That's a good thing. The other things were some things I talked about earlier, the baseball park, the houses that were coming up. We meet in LCRA on Thursday with our assessment on our electrical system. We started the CDL program, which is working well. I moved, Jay is in charge of that, doing a great job. We've already put in the people, and we've added a couple more people trying to run through the CDL program. And then got tickets to help our supervisors. One of our Patty and I's goals is to help our supervisors expand on their management skills. And one of the things that we're gonna do is this meeting place and able to use YouTube and different things is we'll have city meetings together so they can watch some of these videos that'll help them understand how to deal with difficult employees, how to manage them, how to think forward, and how to motivate them. Okay, so Patty's come up with an idea with that, and so. we just
Good.
move forward. So, I think that's pretty much where I'm at.
Good.
So, excellent format. I mean, this is gonna be so helpful when we get
Oh,
6
yeah.
months down the road. And so these, I guess, will stay on there and
What I'll do is I'll change where we're at on those, and then I'll also talk to you about it in case you didn't read it or whatever, so at least you kind of know where we're at.
yeah, perfect. I love it.
Yeah, this is awesome. I followed you on it. Yeah, that's awesome, John.
This was kind of helps out, because we do all these things, and y'all never know.
Right, exactly.
Absolutely.
You know when you don't,
Right. You know what I mean?
no, but it is, for the sake of Ms. Floyd and you and Patty and the rest of the team.
No, excellent, excellent.
This is really,
I just, my hands off to all the employees and girls at the office. Every one of our employees, they do a great job.
Wanted to mention a couple of things that we've been involved in. We could only invite one commissioner to a town hall meeting we had with Centennial Spring residents. You know, they're in desperate need of water out there off Centennial Springs. And I believe we had 12 residents show up. Some of them were couples, so it wasn't the entire community out there. I think there's 12 landowners out there that could be affected or get involved in it. But anyhow, Robert assisted John and I, and John had put together some numbers on what their cost to build infrastructure per residence might be, just to give them an idea of what they're talking about. And we figured out our cost might be somewhere less than $50,000 to run a water line from Mebus over to Centennial Springs, and probably put in a fire hydrant, cut off valves, things of that nature, which we would recover by their water bills. But anyhow, it's in their ballpark now. We've done all we can do. They hopefully will meet with their residents, decide if they want to form a coalition or some sort of association or group, see who all wants to be plugged into it. Everyone that came was definitely interested in it. And naturally, the less users they get, the more it will cost them on the infrastructure. But they were very interested. So I think the city's been really good on stepping up and trying to help those folks. I know, I think you wanted to come, or Paul wanted to
Yeah,
come,
I did.
but we couldn't have it, two of us, or we'd have an unofficial meeting. But anyhow, I think that went well, and they will have to get their own numbers and orchestrate the infrastructure themselves according to our standards, to where we could connect up with them.
It was a little difficult to process, because they really just wanted city water. We can to a certain point. But getting it to everybody else after that, that becomes your responsibility.
Yeah.
And when we started calculating it, or hard numbers, it was 30.
Right at $30,000
It was in the neighborhood of 30,000 persons.
Landowner.
Do this, and they're going, okay, if you 12 or whoever are on that section, if you, that's what a lot of developers do, is they say, I'm putting it in. But when you want to tap into it, you may be paying more than the first group of us, because we fronted the money and we had been out that money. So your tap fee to come into our line, not the city's line, but to the privately owned line of either this coalition or like a private MUD where they own that line. And they own that, and they buy water that goes across the Magic City district line and then goes into that, and that becomes their water to do with what they want. They pay us for it, but other people that tap it can pay them. That's what they gotta work out, and that's why they're going. We don't really wanna be one of these. We just wanna pay and go. We are not gonna be the manager of water and utility lines outside the city.
One of
Right.
the things that came out of that was, glad Judge Bearden is here, because we put out numbers around 30,000. That's, again, that's a guesstimate from what our engineers have put out. And he told us that day that he had just drilled 2 holes. Holes out there costing $57,000 to drill, and they were dry.
And one was dry, and the one was minimal. So,
So the amount of money for him to
Yeah.
get it there to have city water is money.
Well,
Like, let's do it now.
you may have a $2 million property, but if you ain't got water, it's not worth $2 million.
and, you know, if we get to the point where we are wanting to negotiate a deal or whatever, that will come to the commission. And John nor I can make those agreements, as we've talked earlier. So we'll keep you all apprised, but we're just trying to give them some rough numbers to work on. The other thing that I wanted to update the commission on is we actually ordered today our ramps and our steps for around the square. We're only able to address 2 sides, the north side and the west side. The east side, we don't have surveys yet on that, nor waiting on the state to do it. So we can't make a plan over there till we know what's our property or theirs. But our plans are to put 2 ramps, one on each block on the north side, and then a 3rd ramp in front of Crockett Keller's there to assist whomever to be able to have access to the upper level sidewalks. And then on the north side, each block will have 2 step units. Now, these are aluminum units. We will cut out the concrete. They'll have handrails. There'll be standard steps in height and width of the tread. And so they'll be negotiable by folks that need the use of a ramp or the steps. And we've tried to strategically place these where high traffic or the greater problems on having access, like over on the west side between the Central Appraisal District and Mason Square. We're going to put it dead center in between those because a lot of traffic there, and that is a very steep step unit there. Above the sidewalks where we have a ramp, we will have guardrails. We'll have handrails, and they'll all be manufactured out of the same aluminum material. They'll look very professional. They're put in temporary, but who knows if, when and where the next grant process will come about. So anyhow, it is just to try to create some limited, safe routes for our constituents and tourists. We did, Robert and I and John also had a Zoom meeting with TxDOT on the transportation alternative, and they gave us the things that we did well on and some things that we were a little bit short on. There really wasn't anything terribly that we were short on, except maybe we didn't describe it as well as we should. We'll get another opportunity. They'll have another, what they call a call in January of 25. We'll start that process again. It'll take a year to know whether we get the grant. We'll have to rehire another engineer to help us with it. And then we'll see. But even if we get that grant, we're at least 3 years out of breaking ground. So we felt like that we had to do something. Now, we do have money in the budget under infrastructure, although I talked to Donna today, she's going to kind of keep it separate of what we're spending on our sidewalks, for it's easier for us to identify as we budget and things. So I think
What was the cost on that?
that's what I was thinking. It's going to be right at 20 or 21,000 for the ramps, all the hardware. I got a bid today, turnkey of 19,000 to install all of it. John had suggested that we use city employees to do the demo work. I know our city employees are overtaxed as they are, so I'm going to try to get another bid locally here from Josh Bradley. I haven't got a response from him yet. The other company's out of Marble, the other company's out of Kerrville, and they can't tint the concrete to where it doesn't look like bright white concrete. They will also work on the surfacing on the sidewalks and repair the little divots, or we have a limited work where we got to cut out and repair some stumbling places, like out in front of Bronco Sue's. There's a rise about that much, just direct path to their front door. Those places will have to be cut out. We will not make everything perfect, but we'll do the best we can, and to do some minor alterations. And I think we got 50 in that. I think we budgeted 50 or 45 in that account. So we'll proceed with it unless we need commission approval if we go over, budget or bid amounts.
Did you check with Wade Kimball on the bid?
Wade does not want to touch
He
it,
didn't want to, yeah, okay.
and he's busy.
Yeah, he is. know
I
he
talked
was.
to him way back when, trying to get some ideas. We want to use local focus if we
Yeah.
can. And really, the only other one is I think Bradley, Josh Bradley and his dad. And they do a lot of work nowadays, but he's busy too. So try to get a price from him and see, or city can do some of it, but again, we fall behind usually on just trying to keep up with normal work. So I hate to entangle them. Very likely, we could be done by, the work would be done probably in March, be done by that month, or in mid-April. They said they could be done in like 2 or 3 weeks.
Thing that I forgot to mention, Anna and I and Chad had a meeting with the people that live on Estes, at the end of Estes Lane, Robinsons. And their water is being cut off, and we're trying to figure out how to get those people water, because they don't have any water. Obviously, it won't be proposed that that's gonna come up, and I'm gonna be bringing that up to the commission, because I, finagling and figured what we need is 900 tie in to that, our line that's up there, right by Mary Estes, or Mary Martinez, and run that line down, Valleys, if you can give us permission. Actual road that goes.
Right.
Link them up and go right into,
Lugo.
Why's the water cut off?
There
There's
is
no water,
up
city
there.
water up there. They're working off of wells and they're going dry on them.
Oh, the wells are going dry.
So nobody's ever, that was not subdivided correctly, that was,
I was fixing to report on it, but he beat me to it. I've been working on it for years, and in the past, do anything. But this all boils down to the original property owner that would not
Yeah.
cooperate for whatever
Yeah,
reason.
you don't need them.
and it can be fairly cheap to just to get those 2 houses, 3 houses, a 1-inch line between the 2 years.
Is it just 3 houses? 'Cause did you include Vale's house too? Because he's in the city limits too, and his well is dry. He's been supplying water for them from his well, and going dry.
It's just something that I'll bring up when it gets to it, and what we can do.
Okay, cool.
so we tap into Fred, to Lindell's line. We'll have to have agreement with him, I suspect.
We can do that? Because I think I asked you that. I didn't know if we could or could not.
That's a private line that Lindell Estes ran to his sisters and his property up there off of the city line. But we have to do something, kind of an emergency. It really is an emergency. Those folks are really in dire straits.
Yep.
So, anyway, so that's the last thing. Lots of stuff.
Did you want to expand on that?
No, I just come in, Chad, because I've worked on this project before and didn't get anywhere. And since Chad and I have been working on it, and John, he's made some great strides. And now that we've got the judge in place to help us out, I mean, I'm hoping these people can get their water.
And it's being cleaned up. You remember when we drove up there a long time ago?
Yeah.
Being cleaned up, gradually, within another month, hopefully 6 weeks, it'll be done.
Good,
So,
Yeah.
good.
But we're going forward with it, which is good. I mean, it's, people are getting the water they need.
If I could go back 1 second, I don't want to go into great detail, but going back, what you didn't touch on in that tech stop meeting, when they said, talk about some of the fallacies and things and the shortcomings. One of those was they said, well, we really didn't, when we presented them with what we would like to build. What we didn't have is a 20-year plan. This is a piece of a much bigger walkway plan, or much bigger. They went, so where's your overall city walk plan?
where's you gonna tie in the bike parks?
So they didn't have that, and then also, you have to understand that TxDOT is the partner in two levels. One, one department's giving us the money if we get it. The other department is the one who handles the highway that goes through the middle of town. In order to be able to propose that we're gonna do that, we already have to have an agreement in place that they're agreeing to either road diet that thing or whatever. We did not have that in that 60 days to get all these things in
Yeah,
place.
yeah.
So I don't disagree with TxDOT going, you just didn't quite have all the answers. Not going, well, I know we didn't, but we gave it a hard run. And we did a lot of work in advance, but that's why when Frank says we gotta hire an engineer, transportation only talks to transportation engineers. No matter how great a sketch we have, that this is how the city needs to go around, if they don't have an engineering stamp, they get an engineering stamp, then they can go, well, here's the guy who recommended it, and then our engineers recommend it. So long and short of it is, we're by no means have closed the book on that. We just know.
It's a process.
Yeah.
And when does that come up again? 25, you said?
January of '25, they'll make the call, and we'll do the first application process, and then
Is
we'll
this
we'll do the second.
new
It
one?
gives us a year nearly to get our ducks in a row and be more prepared to work with an engineer.
So if you get reelected again, you better jump on it.
Patty, we need to do this
If you get
again?
reelected again, you better jump on it
Okay, because I was like, I
immediately.
did do it last time, right? Okay. Okay, good. And we can just mail it in? Okay.
Any further questions, discussion on the consent agenda, the minutes and all that's involved in that? That's good minutes on the animal control. Help us. No other discussion? I'll entertain a motion on the consent. Look at there.
Agenda as delivered to us.
Have a second? I can't second it. Okay. Commissioner
second
Blair seconded that.
Okay.
Wave ran over there.
Motion was presented by, all those, would you like to discuss that any further? If not, all those in favor, raise your right hand. 5-0.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, we have a motion to adjourn. And it's been seconded by Commissioner Rayburn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So, just occasionally, got you right in them hands. It's sort of like